Welcome to the 171st broadcast of the T-ROH Show. It's your host, Keith. Sorry about last week, folks. My headphones broke. That's why I couldn't do the show. So I'm sitting there about 12 at night, panicking, but the wire was cracked and it just stopped working. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. Nothing actually happened. It was no big deal. I just had to go get some new phones. And that was it. That's all there was to it. Okay, got a couple of things to go over today. This probably won't be a long program, hopefully. I'm going to try to keep it under 45 minutes, but has a certain few things that we need to discuss and go from there. Okay, some of this stuff is actually fairly interesting, interesting events that are going on. Let me share some screens here. All right, I'll wait for that to come through. It says Vatican Watchers. There we go. Vatican Watchers stunned as Pope Francis drops title of Vicar of Christ, assumes power as Jorge Mario, whatever the hell that name is, in his own name, fulfilling John 5:43, prophecy of Antichrist. Very interesting to me. And this kind of makes sense, as it would actually change to Pope Francis wants to be president of the world. I don't believe there's any such title. I don't believe that they said, okay, that's not a real job, but he's seeking to lead the global conversation. So, folks, according to his own word, apparently this boy's the Antichrist. Somehow son of the devil. And notice that he's, look at this guy here, right? This is John Boner. Okay, they call him, what did they call him? The weeper of the house. He wasn't the speaker, he was the weeper of the house, working very closely with Francis. So all these people kind of work together. He's the one that just cried all the time, man. It would just drive you nuts. Okay. Then we got some other stuff here. We knew this man's niece. She tried to infiltrate here. Kissinger says even U.S. can't defeat COVID-19 alone. His solution, global NWO government, of course. Now, we told you in the beginning when all this started, and I said I don't believe that this is a pandemic. I believe this is a setup for the New World Order. And if you'll look at the Reign of the Heaven Society post, you notice that we've been fighting them off for quite a while. Okay, and I know there are people out there that think that we are, we're just second in charge. Okay, but I'm going to go over that here in just a minute. Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is a document that has been floating around. I just saw it the other day, and I'm going to explain something to you that you might be missing. So I'm going to explain something to you. Be interesting for everybody. Okie dokie. Let me get that one document out of the way here. This is a document from you know who, okay? The AVR chick that thinks she's saving everybody with her spiritual warfare that she has. He says, we live in a world that functions via duality, positive and negative, male and female, light and dark, private and public. Okay, so this does not imply that a starry night is evil and the sunny day is good, even though they occupy opposite ends of the spectrum in our perception. Okay, so now we're going to learn about yin and yang, yin and yang, I think it's called, the polarity that Hinduism. So we're going to learn about Hinduism here. There has been a considerable misunderstanding among white hats and average folk. Okay, so white hats are considered superior to average folk concerning the Federation of States and the Confederation of States and assumptions that people make about good and bad polarized efforts that need to work in tandem. Okay. The Federation of States needs to be assembled first so that certain of its powers can be delegated to the Confederation of States, which is needed to restore the federal United States. It's that simple. Okay. That's bullshit. That's all that is. It's complete bullshit. Let's go to the Federation. Find out what a federation is. This is somebody that just can't deal, man. Cannot handle not being involved in something. All right. The Federation, all know a federation, not to be confused with confederation or federated states, also known as a federated state, is a political entity characterized by a union of partially self-governing provinces, states, or other regions under a central federal government. Federalism. That's what we got now. That's what's going on right now. You already have that. It's just been taken over by the New World Order. But you already have that part. So what do you mean you have to come together? Oh, back under the Constitution again, right, folks? There we are again, going back under the Constitution. That is still never changed, okay? All right. So we know this is a lie. And the Federation of States do not tell the Confederation states what to do, because the Confederation, the Articles of Confederation, was the original Federal Republic. The Federation of States turned into an aristocratic republic where all the power is in the Senate and operates as a corporation. Okay? It is not that the Federation is good and the Confederation is bad, or vice versa. No, you're not worried about hurting my feelings here. Okay, so that's what that is. That's Mama saying, we're not trying to hurt your little feelers. Okay, they are not in competition against each other. No, we operate in parallel. You operate there, we operate here. That's it. We were here first. They depend on each other for their mutual existence and rightful functioning. That said, the Federation can and does not exist with or without the Confederation. Then we have this thing here. This is where it starts getting really messed up, folks. That said, the Federation can and does exist with or without the Confederation. The United States of America unincorporated, chartered, there was no such charter. That didn't exist. Okay? Nothing here means owns and operates states of America. No, it doesn't. That's under the Articles of Confederation. Listen to this. Listen carefully. Maine owns the state of Maine in the same sense as Joe Blow owns Joe Otto's body and repair shop. Completely false. That's a completely false statement. I'm going to show you. Okay. Maine was called the District of Maine. It used to be the district of the state of Massachusetts. It was a part of the Massachusetts at the time. Okay, and 1820 is when it was formed. So the District of Maine was a part of Massachusetts, and what they wanted to do was they wanted to secede and turn itself into a state. Okay, so when you say the word Maine by itself, according to this document here, or according to this, Maine was a district. So Maine does not own the state of Maine. Okay? That being said, let's go over to the Constitution of the state of Maine, which will be here. I'm going to redo this because I don't know for sure whether you're going to be able to see the document. And boy, do I hear it when you can't see the document. Okay, so we the people of Maine. Now that's the District of Maine right here. In order to establish justice, ensure tranquility, provide for our mutual defense, promote for our common welfare, and secure to ourselves, our posterity, the blessings of liberty, acknowledging with grateful hearts of the goodness of the sovereign ruler of the universe. Let's talk about our Father in heaven and affording us an opportunity so favorable to the design and imploring his aid and direction in its accomplishment, do agree to form ourselves into a free and independent state by the style and title of what? The state of Maine. Now, see that lowercase t? It means it's not a part of this title. So if you go back over here, let me stop that again. I'm sorry if you do see it or the switch. This state never existed. And so it owns something that never existed because you put an uppercase T on here. This state doesn't exist. Only the state of Maine exists. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you something. Back in the 90s, someone came up with a brilliant idea that if you put state of in front of something, that it was a corporation. Absolutely 100% completely false. False. It does not mean it's a corporation or been turned into a corporation. That's the name of the state of Maine. Not capital T, state of Maine. It's lowercase t. It's in the Constitution. Go look it up. So what they did was they took themselves, they said, we the people of the District of Maine, we're going to form ourselves into the state of Maine, which is in our Constitution. So what do? They turn around and state Maine owns the state of Maine. That's false. Absolutely false. Because its style is state by the style and title of the state of Maine. Y'all get that? That's the name of the state. And it doesn't change. Nobody assumes that Joe must be dead because Joe's auto body and repair shop goes bankrupt or is closed or remodeling or Joe goes on vacation. This statement makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It is the same thing that the United States of America Incorporated. It hasn't ceased to exist simply because of the Confederated States of America entered Reconstruction and stayed in that condition for 150 years. What do the states of America have anything to do with it? The Confederated States of America have nothing to do with it. Okay? Nothing to do with anything, because they were in dishonor because they left the original Union of 1774 under the United States of America of 1781. This is going to be the kicker here in just a few. Now that everyone is fully aware and advised, okay, so you're going to advise now, so you're the lawyer. Concerning the need for reconstruction of the states of states, no such thing. It should be self-evident that the first necessary step is to assemble the counties and the states that give rise to the states of states. No such thing, folks. There's only one state. You have to assemble the body politic of Maine. No, you don't. Before Maine can act and restore the state of Maine. No. Completely false. This woman is acting as a bar from government. She's trying to keep you from your original state. It's right in the Constitution. It's not hard to see. Go look it up. You can't just take their word for it. Because I don't believe she's working alone. I believe there's a bunch of people that are causing a lot of BS for a lot of people based on ignorance, okay? You have to assemble the non-delegated powers before you can have delegated powers. Whatever, man. Which means what? Same thing. Unbelievable. So that is why it is necessary to follow the lead of the Michigan General Jural Assembly and assemble your local counties and states first. Fully restore the Federation of States and the non-delegated powers, and you're in a position to restore the Confederation of States to exercise the delegated powers. False. Because the Federation of States came after. That was after. See, folks, there was no Federation of States before the Articles of Confederation of 1781. It never existed. Why? Because the states were not states, they were colonies. Let me show you. You can't create a federation of states out of that were never created out of thin air that were literally colonies at the time. See the colonies? Those colonies were there. Some of them named a little different, like Massachusetts Bay Colony, but you still had Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, New Hampshire, New York, New Jersey, all that. Okay, so if that's the case, where's the state of North Carolina? That wasn't formed yet. Because when they did a Declaration of Independence, they had set up their post office in 1775. 1776, they did their Declaration of Independence. They'd set up the Union in 1774, of which we brought forward to the present time. They set up the General Post Office in 1775, which we brought forward to the current time, the present time. And then they did the Declaration of Independence, and then they started on their Articles of Confederation, which changed about 3 times before it was all settled in 1781. There was no federation of states, folks. None whatsoever. Under a central government. There were colonies, not states. So you can't make up a jurisdiction or a timeline or make up something out of thin air just so you don't want to go through the proper channels of doing a resident declaration and claiming your nationality and going into your states through the government of the United States of America. Just because you don't want to do that, and just because you want to be in charge of everything, and just because you want to be the hero of the world, for what reason I have no idea, the world doesn't need a hero. It already has one. That's called Yahushua. Okay? That's the world hero. Jesus, that's the world hero. And just because you want to sit on his throne doesn't mean that you can change completely change a timeline and create something out of thin air that never existed. And by the way, folks, have you noticed something? You notice it doesn't say state of New Hampshire, state of Rhode Island, state of Connecticut, because these are colonies. So what happens when you go back to the term Connecticut or Florida or Georgia or Tennessee and don't use the term state of Tennessee or state of Georgia or state of Florida? What happens? You're back in the colony again. And that's why you have Florida, FL, zone, federal zone. Those are the colonies. So what is she saying? She's saying the King of England. Let's go back to that so you can see it for yourself. She's saying Maine, the King of England, owns the state of Maine. But she did it in such a way that if she got caught on it, she couldn't be held liable because there's no such thing as the state of Maine. Y'all see how that works? And that was the Maine is a district of Maine. Now, back then, they really didn't do much because when you go through the rest of the Constitution, they'll say Maine. They won't say state of Maine. They didn't have continuity. They didn't understand continuity back then. So what we had to do is we've had to go through a lot of these constitutions and fix them, which we've fixed 15 of them, and got rid of the freaking senates because they're not aristocratic republics. They're national governments, real republics of the people, which are sitting in trust right now, by the way. So every time this woman comes out and says, I'm the fiduciary of the United States of America, saying that you have to reestablish the Federation of States under what? The U.S. Constitution that came in 1789, 9 years later, that was never connected to the Articles of Confederation, that came in and took apart the Federal Republic, which was under a confederacy, which is written in the Law of Nations on what an actual confederacy is and what an actual federal republic is, where you have independent states. Remember, guys? independent states, not limited powers, political subdivisions and crap, which is what they have now. That has been turned into a new world order, easily taken over because the people don't have any rights under that kind of system. So what you want to do is you want to bring that system back together and say, what we need to do here is fully restore the Federation of States, and then in the non-delegated powers, and you are in a position to restore the Confederation of States. BS. Complete BS, because it was the Confederation of States, which are called the States of the Union today. Why? Because we made it happen. Was first in time. There was no Federation of States before that. Before the Articles of Confederation were complete in 1781, because they worked on it through the Revolution, and then finally were able to get together and pass it after the Revolution was over. And it went on its own separate timeline. Then you had little traders coming in trying to start a federation of states under a corporation or a company in 1789, Constitution of the United States. So you see, folks, what is this individual doing? What's she doing? She's trying to get you to go back and keep you away from the state of Maine. Lowercase t, state of Maine. That's where you need to be. That is where your Confederation of States are. Your Confederacy. Your Federal Republic. She's trying to keep you away from that and then advocate for England, which today would be the City of London, the Pope, who wants to be king, prince, or president of the world, I guess, which is complete crap, and the District of Columbia. She wants to make sure that you witness for them that they're the ones in charge, because why? She has a blood oath to the Pope, and she's dedicated to the three city-state empire. And she's trying to get you to witness and to take over the Confederation, the Confederacy, of which we claimed way back when, before she even knew about it. And when she realized there was a threat there to her Pope, she started coming up with all this crap. There was no Federation of States before the United States of America. The United States of America, this entity right here, and we're going to say it over and over again, you do not have chain of title. Just because you're making shit up doesn't mean that you have it. This entity right here is under the Articles of Confederation, and it was never, ever under a Federation of States. It never went from the Confederacy to the Federation of States in 1789. It's completely separate. And guess what, Federation of States? You're trespassing with your colonies. Just because you guys couldn't keep it together, just because you brought in a bunch of lawyers and all this crap for this three city-state empire and all the capital crimes going on and all that kind of crap, what makes you think, oh, we got to bring in the Federation of States under a Constitution of the United States, which came after? It was never there before. We have first in time, first in right, and you're trespassing. That's as simple as that. You know you're trespassing. All you Catholics know you're trespassing, because this woman's Catholic. And when you become Catholic, you become subject to the Pope, by the way, which is a foreign monarch. Hello. Might want to tell the Catholic Church to go kick itself, because now it's run by the Antichrist. You might want to go get the hell out of the Catholic Church. And the only way you can do that is a defection document. You have to defect. Get the hell away from that guy, because now you're subject to the Antichrist. Think about it. Now, we've been doing this for a long time. You have to get it out of your head that the Constitution was a good thing for you. It was not. It was an aristocratic republic type formation of a system that operates as a company. Private company, privately owned. Okay, in their system, it's a aristocratic republic. So all you voters that voted for senators, you gave all your power over to them. And they go, oh, that's a guaranteed Republican form of government. That sounds like a guarantee. It sounds like it's a good thing. But really what happens is they take power of attorney for you for 4 years or 6 years or 8 years or however long they're in. And they speak for you and you can't say shit the whole time they're in there because you gave them power of attorney. That's why a Republican form was never a good idea. So we want you to know this. There was no federation. This woman here, this woman right here, I'm going to show you. Her and 2 of her cohorts are trespassing all over the place. They made this up because they figured out they had missed the boat. Why did they miss the boat? Because they're Catholics. They're serving man, not God. Not a good idea. So you pay the price. Pay it. And quit complaining. And quit trying to fight it. You have to bypass the Pope, goes directly to Yahushua, and he's the only way to the Father. That's it. Not the Pope. I've sat and watched at least 20 videos of people that have died and seen heaven. At least 20 videos. Not one of them said that they've seen the Pope. I have seen one of them that say John Paul II was in hell. They saw him in hell, burning for the crap he was doing. That was a lady down in, young girl down in South America, but they said later on, she's been debunked and she's a liar and all this other guy. Well, yeah, because what she said destroys their church and all their money. And his, and his bid for president of the world, I guess, which, by the way, is no such thing. No such office. But that's okay. A lot of people in that organization suffer from delusions of grandeur. So when you understand the preamble, how it's written, we the people of Maine, that's the District of Maine, and then they declared who they were, which was the state of Maine. That's the name of the state. That is not a company. Believe me, there were a bunch of guys that came together. I don't know, 4 or 5 of them, 6 of them, however many came around. They had me believing it too, and I realized I was lied to. That the state of Maine is not a company or corporation at all. It's a state. The Bar Association is barring you from reaching that state and that government. Okay, I'm going to read you this last thing, and that'll be the end of the show for the day. It says, Article 21 of the UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Everyone has the right to take part in the government of his country, directly or through freely chosen representatives. Lawyers are not freely chosen representatives. Those are forced representation. It's not a lack of representation. They're barring you from your government and controlling it out of your hands. From the colony, from within. In other words, they're in Tennessee. You should be in the state of Tennessee, and they place their colony in there. It's a state within a state. It's what it is. All right, just to give you an idea. Everyone has a right to equal access to public service in this country. Well, no, because when you go make a claim to any kind of public service, you can't get it unless what? A lawyer gets involved. That's the reason for the term bar. It's right there in the term. They're barring you from it. They're controlling it. Y'all get it? The will of the people shall be the basis of authority of government, and this will shall be expressed in periodic and genuine elections. Notice they said genuine. They're not genuine elections with at least with the Democrats around. Which shall be universal and equal suffrage and shall be held by secret vote or the equivalent of free voting procedures. There you go. Okay, that's what's going on, and that's exactly what Miss Rights is doing, plus her cohorts. They're barring you from the state of Maine. They're barring you from the Florida. And they're using it and messing with your head. because they're saying, oh no, that's bad, that's a corporation, and it's not. That's the name of the state, folks. That's where you need to be, and that's where we put you. We get past the bar, because that's capital crime of what they're doing. That's a capital crime. That's why you have 3 fugitives. That's why we keep telling you this. They're human rights violators, and they are involved in capital crimes. By barring you from the original state by diagnosing what it is and misinterpreting what it is as a company, as a corporation, not as a state, which means you're missing your inheritance, because the people of Maine put together the state of Maine for you, their posterity, for the future generations. That's what they did. And you're missing your God-given rights. So please stop listening to these people. They're barring you from it. They're on the side of the empire against you. And this is what we keep trying to tell people. Thanks for listening to the 171st broadcast of the T-ROH Show. Once again, sorry we missed you last weekend. We're getting a backup set of headphones, so this doesn't happen again. And we'll see you next week.